Hey, I'm Yoad. Welcome to my studio. It's good to see you here again. Today, I'm going to talk about bass and drums. The kick drum and the bass share a similar frequency range. However, our ears can only detect so much information in a given range, and especially in the low range where we don't have a lot of resolution in our perception of sound. Today I'm going to show you how to make room for the kick drum within the bass track. So whenever the kick hits, we don't really need the bass to occupy the same frequency range. What we're going to do is to use a dynamic EQ so we can really control how the bass gets scooped whenever the kick drum is playing. We have this track. We can hear that the bass is quite big and round, but the kick is quite fat as well. So both things together can collide and muddy the mix. In this frequency range, we have the kick and we also have the bass. Now, as much as this frequency range is crucial for the bass, because that's where all the energy is, whenever the kick is playing, we can scoop out these frequencies. So let's see how we do that. So at the moment, I'm going to be concentrating on the low band. And now I have my external sidechain feeding from the kick drum. This is what the external sidechain is receiving. So it's confined to this band. So whatever I do will only affect this frequency range. And now I can set the range, which means how much do I allow the kick drum to reduce the level of the bass in this frequency range. Now, if I bypass that process, we can hear that there's some congestion in that frequency range, which is around 90-100. When I engage it, there's almost no audible difference, but we've cleared a lot of energy. Since the bass is quite busy in the higher frequencies, I can try and do a similar thing, which means letting the clicky part of the kick reduce the gain of the bass in the same frequency range. Let's try to pinpoint that range. Maybe lower. And it could be wider. Something like that. So now let's see what happens when we reduce the gain whenever the kick hits. Again, there's hardly any audible difference. However, there's much more space. Let's bypass both bands. And back in. The other thing I like about this is that it creates more dynamics. I feel like there's more movement, whereas here it's a bit static. So not only am I creating more space, I'm actually introducing more dynamics which is correlated, which translates to more kind of glue or something which is more coherent and playing together. I can do something to compensate for the reduction in the low and the high frequencies, which is actually boosting the mid frequencies whenever the kick is playing. Again, let's solo this frequency range so we can pinpoint to the frequency that we want. So something around this area, maybe it could be wider. So this frequency range will get boosted whenever the kick hits. Now I can lengthen the release time . So it will remain open for longer. That's obviously too much, but we can get something more mild. So in fact, I'm actually hearing more of the performance and energy of the bass. However, in this frequency range, around the 700, 800, there's only presence because our ears are actually evolved to have more resolution in this range, because this is the range of speech. So we are very sensitive to level differences in that range. So what I'm doing here, I'm actually boosting the range where our ears are sensitive to that information, and this will mask the reduction in the low frequencies and the high frequencies. So not only am I creating more space in the mix, I'm actually making the bass more present. And let's bypass everything. And in again. So to me, the bass sounds more dynamic, more kind of alive, with more intention. It's tighter with the kick because it responds to the kick, so there's a kind of element of gluing the two together. Let's bypass again. And in again. This F6 preset will be available in the link below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do, and I'll see you on the next one.